Hey Carol, it was great working with you today. Have two different swings up here. Oddly enough, I got them backwards. So the one on your left side of the screen is the second swing. The one on the right side of the swing is the first swing. There are a lot of things I like about both of them. So let's start off with the one on the right. That'd be the one over on this side. Stuff I want to point out to you right here. When we started out, we talked about this number, this 49 and 51. So that's 49% of your weight on your front foot, 51% on your back foot. And I said I wanted that reversed. So if you look, by the time we worked on it for a little bit, we ended up with this right here, 52-48. That is just awesome. That is perfect, right where I want it to be. And what you can see from that is the difference in your setup. Look at how far, that line's probably not the best. The line should be over here a little bit more, but look at how your body is set up forward now. You can tell you're into that left side. The only thing that I would really want to do is maybe bump that hip right there out a little bit so that it's on that same line with your left shoulder. So it's just a little forward set of that left hip. So then we go through, and the next spot I want to go to, starting on the right side, is halfway into your backswing, because that's the first place where we want to talk about weight shifts. So we're almost there. You've got a really good thing coming up. There you can see your left arm is pretty straight. So we'll call that halfway through your backswing on that side. We'll go back to halfway through your backswing on this side now. That's not quite there. We'll call it, that's a little too far. About right there. Does that look about the same? Yeah, we'll call it right about there. There, gosh, it's like trying to get everything perfect. There we go. So when we go back over to the right side, halfway through your backswing, because your hip has slid, remember where it was when it was over here? Look at this right here. So this I'm going to make red, and I'm going to put a circle. I want you to look at that hip right there. And when we go back to the beginning, look at where that hip is. Okay, I don't want to see that hip getting into that circle. See how that's going into that circle? That tells me that you have not turned, you've slid. And remember what happens when we slide. So on this one, this is the second swing, and you look at halfway back, and now you're in a better position. That hip is turned, not near as much as I would like, but that hip is turned as opposed to slid. So let's look at a couple other things. Don't worry about that arrow. That's just me being goofy. Here, on your right heel, you've only got 37% of your weight. Well, that's because, like we said, this hip has slid laterally and not turned. So you've got 37% in the heel, 63% in the toe, and of course you've got 72% and 24% there. You look at the second swing over here, you still don't have enough into that heel. You've only got 37%, but like I said, much better here, and then a good dispersion there. So the next spot we're going to want to look at is halfway down. So here we're going to go forward. So now we're coming back down into the ball. We've already gone back. So this is the upper swing. Now we're starting down. That's a little soon. We can get rid of some of these other lines like that one and that one. We'll go over here and we'll say we've gone back to the top of our backswing. There's top of our backswing. Really good. You've lifted up a little bit there. I don't particularly care for that. I'll draw a line on that in a second if I think about it. Now we're starting down. Okay, right there you can see that as you start down, and this was the better swing. Let's see if I can get this to the same spot so we can talk apples and oranges. As we start down, come on, baby. Just a skosh farther than that. About right there. Okay, there we are. You notice here, we still have 92% of our weight in this toe. 86% of our weight is still back. By the time we hit halfway down, so when your arm is right there and that club is coming down, you should have 80% of your weight or more in that left foot. These numbers should be flip-flopped. So those two numbers right there should be exactly the opposite. And on this side, if you look, it's the same thing. You're a little better. You've got 27% of your weight forward. You got your weight 50-50 on your back heel. But we need to see, and boy, this is a perfect example of what happens when you slide on the way back. Look at how much distance there is in between your hip and where you set up. That's the death move right there. Over here, you've done a good job. You don't have your weight necessarily as far forward as I would like, but look, you've got that hip right back on that line, and you've put yourself in position to make a good swing. Much better than when we started. Look at that. Look at that difference. I mean, that's huge right there. You know, that is just amazing. And then from there, as you come further down, let's go down to impact. Of course, you're trying to catch up at this point. Everything you do with that hip, once that hip stays back there, you're just essentially trying to catch up. And here's what happens when you try to catch up. Okay, you notice how your body is starting to go back. Boy, this is really touchy. I'm sorry. So there you are, just past impact. You know, there's the ball right there if you really want to be fancy about it. Notice how you're back here. Your hips are completely level. There is no hip turn right there at all. So what you've essentially done is gone backwards and forwards. And you can see that. This little white dot right here, that's your center of mass. So with your center of mass back there, that means all of the motion is coming off that back side. You've got 93% of your weight on your right foot. So what you're going to do from there is you're going to hit the ball thin. You're going to add extra loft to the club. You're not going to compress the ball, so you're going to hit it shorter. It's going to feel clanky to you. That is just big time no bueno there. So here, better swing. Now, if your hip would have turned right here, where you see this part of your hip sticking out beyond that line, you would have turned everything inside of that. I would see your hip starting to turn, and this right hip would be coming up to touch that line. But that's neither here nor there for this part of it. That's another lesson. But again, as we come down and get the impact, watch this white dot up here. We're going to watch this one because right now it's telling us our weight is back, and we know what happens when our weight's back. There's a little farther. It's still back. Our weight never really gets to that side, and look at what that makes us do with the club. Look at how that club broke through there. So we go from here to right there, and the ball is actually up a little higher. You hit it okay. You were able to save it because you didn't slide like you did here. You slid forward, actually. But then as you get further into the follow-through, you come up and you start to turn. But by this point right here, by this point right there, I should be looking at that part of your hip right there. That should be what's facing me. You should have been all the way turned by the point you get to right there. You can see over here on the other side with that, you've got 95% of your weight in this toe right there. You've got 5% in your heel. The pressure trace, as you can see here, has moved forward. So you finally moved it forward, and it's good. It's very linear. But where we want that thing all the way over there pegged on the left side is about right here on the downswing. So it's here, and it should be there. So we've got to really work on making that weight shift to the left. You can see on this one, as you go into on the right side, as you go into the follow through, you stay back, your hip stays back. There's all this room here. The weight stays back again. You've got 100% of your weight on that itty bitty little toe out there. It's probably screaming in agony. And then you come through and finish, and it finally starts to go forward. Again, no hip turn whatsoever. 88% of your weight on a back heel just coming out of the back heel, 95 into the toe. And then you go into your finish, which is actually not a bad finish, 100% into that toe. But again, look at where your hip's pointing. You can't really tell because you're wearing dark shorts and, you know, I'm a little ways away, but that's kind of pointing over this direction towards the right side of the range rather than being fully turned. And as I look at it, if you look at the back of the range, this guy here doesn't exactly have the world's best swing, but look at the difference in where his hips are pointing and where your hips are pointing. Oh, that's Chris Demas. He's been working with me for a while. But notice how his hips get turned now. Our hips are not turned just yet. But even so, when you compare that swing to where you are here. You broke down on the way through, but your weight got better to the left side. So what we need to do is work on some things. What I really, really want to go after with you is, excuse me, is we're going to have to turn the hips. We're going to have to swing in a phone booth. I want the hips to turn to the right on the way back and then really fire to the left on the way through. Again, back here at the beginning of this second swing, if I put that line back out there, I mean, this is just classic. So you're here, you go, I'll give you the other line too. There's the other one. You start back, look at the turn you make. Come on, there you go. See how it's turning inside? That's better. That's better. But when you come through, you slide. Okay, at this point, right there, that hip, right there, that one, that lefty that's hanging out there should be spun. It should be pointing over this direction somewhere. And that's the only way we're going to get it done the way we want to. So very good first lesson, very good first effort. We've got some things to work on. We can certainly get there from here. I think conservatively, the way your swing is and as powerful as you can be and athletic as you can be, we've got 15, 20 yards that we'll find with your irons. And I think with the driver, we'll find even more. But I really am glad you came to me. I appreciate your business. I appreciate your confidence. And we will get this done and get you hitting the ball just great. Talk to you soon. If you have any questions on this, just let me know. You know how to find me. Bye-bye.